Hello friends, my name is Sagar and welcome back to my channel. Today we have an exciting topic for all you web developers out there. We will be diving deep into the world of CSS selectors, exploring each one in detail. By the end of this video, you will have a thorough understanding of CSS selectors and how they can supercharge your styling capabilities. So let's start. On my screen, you can see a notepad or Visual Studio Code is there, which is nothing but a code editor. And the output is also there, which I have opened in Google Chrome. So I have created index.html file to start with the HTML code like this. I have created the HTML code, and here we will be adding CSS and HTML snippets. So let's start with the first universal selector, which is nothing but the star selector. So here in the head section, I will write style tag. We will be using internal style sheet for this video. So it will be quick for us to see the CSS and the HTML all together in the same screen. Now, look at this. If I write star selector here, and let's say if I do border 2 pixel solid red, and if I save this, when I run this program in the browser, you will be able to see two borders are appearing. Why? Because the element body and the element HTML both are having border, because these are two elements which are displayed on this plain area. Now, this is the universal selector. So even if I add some paragraph here, let's say like this, and if I close this paragraph and save and refresh, that paragraph is also going to have the border radius. So if you look at this, you will be able to see that border is being applied to all these elements. And even though you create multiple elements, let's say I am going to create h1 here, and let's write heading. When I refresh it, the heading is also going to have the border, right? So the same way, the universal selector works for all the elements, irrespective of their hierarchy. The styling whichever you apply in this block of code will get applied to all the elements. So this is the first selector in our video today, that is called as universal selector. This selector can be used in the cases where you don't want to apply any margin or padding to any of the element in your page in order to have the same look and feel for all the elements, and the by default margin and padding gets applied, right, for unordered list or heading. In that case, this can help you to override all the margin and padding so that it will look like this. Otherwise, if it is not there, then your heading and paragraph is going to have margin and padding. So in order to reset that, you can use this universal selector. This selector can be used for all such things which you apply global. So it could be font size, or it could be font family, or it could be things like margin and padding which you want to apply to each and every element. So this is universal selector. The second selector we have is type selector, which is also known as element or tag selector. Element or tag selector is something which you apply to the elements like paragraph, right? Here I am writing paragraph selector, and to this I will be writing color, let's say blue. When I do that, you will be able to see the paragraph is in blue. Let me zoom this. Okay, so the paragraph text which is here in the code is in blue right now. So let's say if you have multiple paragraphs, so it will apply to all the paragraphs whichever you have, and you can see the output. So this particular selector, which is tag selector or element selector, is applied whenever you want the consistent styling for the elements. And let's say unordered list, right? You don't want the margin, so you can use UL here, and margin you 0 you can do for all the unordered lists. So in your project, the unordered lists are not going to have default margin, right? Because you have applied tag or element selector. So the third selector which we have is a class selector. Class selector is something which you apply with the help of dot, and then you can write class name. Let's say xyz is my class name, and that xyz is going to have, let's say, color red. Now when I do that, if you refresh the page, none of these paragraphs are having red color, right? But if I apply this class xyz here, let's say for the second paragraph, I will be using class attribute in which I have copy and pasted this xyz class name. When I save and refresh it, you will be able to see the second paragraph is in red color. Likewise, this is not only specific to the paragraph, but if you can just copy this and paste it here for h1, that is also going to have a red color. See this, because we have not binded this paragraph with this class. This class is open to use to any of the elements. Even I can just apply this to body, then also it is going to work like this, and all the elements inside that is going to have a red color. The reason you don't see the red color for this and this paragraph, which is first and third, because this is specifically mentioned here in the code that if the element is there, the paragraph element specifically, then it should have blue color. So the specificity says that the paragraph is more specific than this class, because this class is being applied to the body. It will apply all the red color to all the elements whichever you write inside the body. Like this, it is also in red. But when it looks for the paragraph, it also has the selector, which is this one, which will apply blue color to this. Even though if you switch the order of the selectors in the CSS, that is also not going to have any effect, because the paragraph is more specific than this class. Although the specificity says that class selector has more priority than the element selector or tag selector, but it is true when there is a specificity value conflict is there, or the value is higher in order. But here specificity says that body also has this class, right? So it is getting applied, and that's why the text is in red. But when you go beyond, and if you find, or the browser finds the paragraph tag, at that time it also finds that this paragraph is without any class xyz, right? So the body xyz is going to apply red color to this particular text, and xyz is going to apply red color to this heading. This paragraph is also going to have red color because of this xyz class, but this particular paragraph, first and last, they do not have any classes attached to it, right? But as per the rules, body has xyz, so it should be red. But again, you have this specificity which says paragraphs should be in blue, and that's why the paragraph is in blue, not in red color. The moment if you move this or remove this paragraph selector from the CSS, that is also going to apply this xyz class, which is applied in the body, and the paragraphs are going to be blue. Let me refresh the page and show you the output. Likewise. Okay, so we have applied the red color to xyz class. So this is a class selector. Now we will look at id selector. Id selector is the next selector which you can apply with the help of hash. And here, when you apply this, you have to give a name. Let's say ABC is the id, and I will be adding, let's say, color yellow to the id ABC. The moment I add it, I need to have a id also. So previously this heading we were having is having class xyz. We will add id here. Let's say id is our ABC id in our case. So let me add that ABC, and here, what according to you, which color will get applied? So as per the CSS specificity, the id has more priority than the class. So let me refresh the page, and the heading is in yellow because id has more priority irrespective of its sequence. If I even move this sequence, let's say upwards, then also it is going to have yellow color because id has more priority. Okay, like that. So we have seen all of these. Now we will see the combinations, like the paragraph which has xyz class should have color, let's say, green. Here, if you look at it, the middle paragraph, here in the code you can see the paragraph with xyz class, right? And that's what we have written, the paragraph with xyz class. There is no space in between these. Okay, so the paragraph with xyz class should have green color, and this is what we see. But if you remove this, let's say, then it is going to take this xyz class. Let me show you that. I will remove this, and the green color is no more, because this particular paragraph is going to take xyz class from here, which says red color should be applied. But if you specify it more strict way, that xyz color will get applied, means red color will get applied to the xyz classes, which is here also. In case of body, xyz class is there. But what if we have a paragraph with xyz class? Then we are adding green color, right? So in that case, here is our green color added to it, because it is more specific. The paragraph with xyz class should have green color, and even if you move this above, that does not matter, it is going to have green color only. Say this, because it is more specific in nature. So whenever you say xyz class, it will apply red color. Whenever you say xyz class on paragraph, it will apply green color. So that way you can restrict the selectors. Okay, so the next one we have is, let me split this window so that you will be able to see HTML here itself and CSS in this window. Okay, good. So next we have descendant selectors. So descendant selector is the selector where you have space as a separator. Let me show you that. Let's say I have an unordered list. Okay, so I will have unordered list here added. Okay, let me format it. Here we go. So this is an unordered list, and it has 3 items. And if I want to apply CSS this way, that unordered list and li, so it means any li which is inside unordered list parent should have these properties. So if you look at it, let me show you one of the example like this. I will add unordered list space li should have list style type disk. So before I use that, let me show you the output. So this is the output for now, where 3 items are there in unordered list, and these 3 items, let me add hr here, so we will divide it. So there will be a divider. Okay, so these 3 are the unordered list items, and I'm writing the CSS for it. Right now it does not have any list style type, and where the moment if I write, let's say, list style type, which is disk, I refresh the code, and that is going to have a disk type, let's say, for unordered list here. Okay, this is because the margin which we have removed here, right? So let's say I will remove this. Okay, now you will be able to see that margin and padding is getting applied to the unordered list. You can just inspect this and see where the margin and padding is getting applied, right? I will move this to the right hand side, and now you see the selector here, which is unordered list. It has margin and padding as well. Here in the HTML we can see the darker orange color is margin, and the green color, which is at the left hand side, is the padding, and the blue color is the content. So it has padding, and that's the reason it shows that disks as a list style type, and we need that. So for now I will add this, but without padding, let's say, and now we will have padding only and not the margins. So orange dark color is gone now for the universal selector. Okay, so what I am saying here is unordered list which has li's inside it should have list style type disk. So when I use this particular code in CSS, the disks are getting applied. If I, let's say, square, it will show square to these elements, right? Or I can say circle as well, it will add circles. But we are going to see the space descendants, right? So descendants means any child who is inside unordered list will have these properties whichever you are going to apply, and the child you have to mention here after the parent with the help of space separator. So there is a space, okay? Do not miss this space, otherwise it will not work. So I'm saying all the unordered list items are there, whichever they are. So let's say we have two unordered lists, okay? That is also going to work because we have two items here as an unordered list, and the CSS applies for all because it is cascading in nature. So it says li is present inside unordered list should have list style type circle, and that's why it is getting applied. Let me remove this one of the unordered list here, and if you see now, there are three items, and I have applied list style type circle, and that is getting applied. Now this will apply to all the LIs, right? Now let's say there is a child selector. Child selector can be denoted with the help of greater than operator, which is nothing but this one, but I will write it separately just to show you what difference it has. So when you write this, and if you, let's say, comment out the above portion, which is this one, then also it is going to have the same effect. So you will get confused, right, which one to use. So let me show you which one to use in which scenarios. When you write this greater than operator, which is called as child selector, in that case, only the LIs which are inside unordered list will have this list style type. Okay, let me say instead of list style type, I will add another property. Okay, so color maybe. So color brown it should use for all the LIs. Okay, so the color is brown, right? If I apply, let's say, another unordered list here inside the third li, let's say, okay, and inside that I am going to write a list item. Let's write 1 2 3 for now and see the output. This is the sub list which we have for third item, and for that also the brown color is getting applied, right? So this is the child selector. Even if you have the space selector, then also the output will be same. So it's not that easy, you will get confused, but let me show you the real way of doing it. So let's say instead of this li, we have span, because unordered list are going to contain li only as a direct child, right? So here I should be using some other selector or the element to show you the difference between the descendant and the child selector. So when I write span, see here, okay, okay, so here I have span which says any direct child of unordered list which is span should have brown color, and we don't see brown color because that is not direct child, right? This unordered list has li as its child, and this li has span as its child, and that's the reason it will not work. But if you remove this greater than symbol now and refresh the code, it will have brown color to this third item. As you can see on the screen, this third item has brown color now, and that is because this descendant selector we have used, which says any children inside this unordered list should have brown color. So any children, which children we have specified here, we have specified span as a children. So unordered list having span as a child should apply brown color. So here is the code. Unordered list which has child, although it is not a direct child, but it is in hierarchy as a child, and its parent li and its parent is unordered list. So ultimately the span's parent hierarchy has unordered list in it. So any span present inside unordered list should have brown color, and that's why the third item is getting in brown. When you say, let's say, any span which is direct child of unordered list, then it is not going to. Okay. And when you do this greater than, then it should be a direct child of this particular parent, and then only it will work. Direct child means here li is the direct child, right? Direct child of unordered list. So in that case it will work. Okay, so I can show you another example of this. Let's say we have a div and paragraph, and I will apply this particular selector here instead of this unordered list. Okay, what it says, the division, which is parent of paragraph, and it is not only the parent, but it is a direct parent, and the paragraph is a direct child of this particular division, right? So when we apply that, font style should be italic, right? And we have this division and parents also. So these paragraphs are getting formatted as italic because we have said the direct child of a division, which is paragraph, should have italic, and it will work. But when you say, let me show you that. Okay, here. So when you apply only the space, then also it is going to work, right? But here, let me write a section tag. Now it has another meaning. It means the section is a parent of paragraph, and the paragraphs are not direct child of the division, right? In that case, if you look at it, this space will work because it says descendant, means any of the hierarchy the paragraph is present, then it should apply italic to it. But if we apply greater than, then it says only the child selector, which is a direct child of division, should have italic formatting. So when I refresh that, the division is here, and we don't have direct paragraph, right? Because the section is parent of paragraph right now, and that's why it is not getting applied. And if I remove this, this will work because it says any paragraphs inside this division will have the italic formatting, and that's why it works. Okay, so I hope this descendant and child selector is clear now. Now we will look at adjacent sibling selector. Adjacent sibling selector is nothing but the selector which is denoted by plus symbol. Let me show you with the example. Let's say we have these three headings, right? These three elements, heading, paragraph, and this paragraph. And now in this case, let's say I want to apply the CSS to the paragraphs, and only to the paragraph which is just after the H2. So H2 is the heading, okay? And this paragraph, which is paragraph 1, I want to target that only and not this paragraph. So in that case, what you can write is H2 plus P. What it says, it is a sibling selector, right? So it is adjacent sibling, means the immediate sibling next to H2. So H2 is here, and this is a sibling paragraph of H2, and it is an immediate sibling, and that's why if you look, the bold formatting is getting applied to this paragraph 1 only. Let me write color instead of bold so you can recognize that easily. Let me write let's say pink. Okay, and now this paragraph is in pink because we have applied this plus selector, which is adjacent sibling. So there is one more, which is general sibling selector, which is denoted by the tilde symbol. We will take another example to understand that. Let's say I will write this particular thing, which is H3 with 2 paragraphs it has as a siblings. I will refresh the code first. Okay, this is our H3 and these 2 paragraphs. Here we will write the CSS to target all the paragraphs after the H3. So this is called a general sibling selector. So I am writing H3 tilde symbol, which is just above your tab key. You have to press shift and that key to enter this particular symbol, and we are selecting paragraph text. So it means all the siblings after H3 will be having this particular color, right? So let me write a different color. Let's say we will be writing yellow color to it. Now let me refresh, and as you can see, this h3 selector is there, and after h3 two paragraphs are the siblings of h3, and all of them are getting selected, right, with the yellow color because of this tilde selector. Okay, now we have attribute selector. The attribute selector is also important. Let's say we have 3 input boxes. Let me add HR here to differentiate or add separator. Okay, here we are. And now there are 3 input boxes. I will add CSS like this, which says, let's say input with required attribute will have border 2 pixel solid red. And let's see the output. So here is 3 input tags, and only this input box is having red color because we have mentioned here that input with required attribute, right? The moment if we remove the required attribute, it is not going to work, but when we write that, it will work. So you can use this attribute selector in the cases where you want to mention that this is mandatory fit, right? Likewise, so whichever attribute you want, you can give. We can also give like the anchor tag, which has target attribute, and that should be in yellow, and just to tell the user that it is going to open in the new tab. That is also possible. Let me show you how. So here is the anchor tag href, let's say https google.com, and I will write something here. Okay, and let me close that. Okay, fine. I will close anchor tag as well here. So we have this anchor tag here, and let's say I want to highlight it in yellow, right? So if I apply, let's say the anchor tag, which has target attribute, should have background color yellow. So we will not see that background color yellow because we don't have a target attribute applied to it. So I will apply target. Let's say target is blank, and now you can see the background color is getting applied to this Google text because of this attribute selector. So this is the attribute selector which you can use in your projects, and it has multiple types. Let me show you how it works. So anchor tag example I just showed you, right? I will keep that as is, and I will apply, let's say, the target which starts with something, or the image which start with something. So I will use the image tags. Let's say we will be using 2 image tags, although it will not work for now because I don't have any image here, but I will add that. Okay, so we have 2 images here, this one and this one. I will add one HR here also to differentiate. Okay, now you can see there are 2 images. They are not loading as such, but I will add attribute selector, and this is very important. See the difference. When I add the image tag here in the CSS selector, I will add SRC attribute. So it means the images having SRC, and which is nothing but select all the images elements with SRC attribute starting with images slash. So if you see this caret symbol right before I is equal to, that is there because I want to select only the images which is having path starting with images slash. So this is images slash and this is assets slash, right? So I want to select all the images starting with images slash as its value in SRC, right? And to that I will add 200 pixel width. Let me refresh the page, and now we will check which one is having 200 pixels in width, right? Let me inspect the page. Here we will be able to see this image is having 200 pixels of width like this, and this image is not going to have any width, but this one will have. So that way you can target the attribute selector. So this caret symbol is to denote the starting point. right? So it should start with images slash. For that purpose you can use that. And let's say you want to use the ending of the things, right? Like the image ending with jpg, let's say. So I will add something like this. Let me copy and again paste it. I will say dollar here. So dollar means the end segment. So I will say dot jpg will have border, let's say 2 pixel solid green. Okay, so our selector is saying the images which has having src attribute and the src attribute which ends with .jpg should have 2 pixels of border with green color, and that is happening with the help of this dollar symbol. Let's see the output. I will close this and you can see both the images are having green borders, right? So one of the images I will make it to png, and now you will be able to see only one image is having the green border. So this way you can select the ending statement. So here we have selected the starting statement with the help of caret symbol for attribute selector. Here we have selected the ending statement for the attribute selector, and likewise you can also select all the elements with, let's say, src attribute containing one of the keyword. Let me show you how. Instead of this, now I will add star here instead of dollar. Okay, and I will say any image which contains the word, let's say, email. Okay, it will have border pink, let's say, and this is our image, and this does not have the word pink, right? Yeah, the word email in it. So let me add in between here somewhere. So I have added it. If you refresh, you will be able to see the pink border because the email word is being found here, irrespective of its starting and ending point. So this is a star selector in the attribute selector list. There is one more which is known as pipe selector. I can just copy this again and show it to you like this. The pipe selector is denoted, and it says select all the elements with src, let's say, containing the word text. Now if you see, let me show you that here. If I add the word text here for the second image, text, and if I refresh the code, it is not going to select that, right? And instead of this pink, I will let's say the red border I will add. Is it getting applied? No, because the word is not being found, because this is one word only. In case of star, it can find the word in between the words and in between the characters as well. So this is email character, it is going to find in star, but in case of pipe, it is not going to find this text because it does not work that way. If you apply dash here somewhere, then also it is not working, right? But if you have, let's say, something like this, then also it does not work. So what it wants, so it wants attribute containing that, right? So let me add this way. So see, I have added text, and here it is not going to work because we have not added text here. Now if you see, the text word is there and still the border is not getting applied. What we can do, I will apply a dash here, which is hyphen, and now if I run, the red color is going to apply. So it works this way, like let's say you have something here, and the text word should be readable, but it does not read by character. It can read by hyphen if it has, but it should not be something starting with the hyphen. And if you have a space here and if you refresh, then also it will not take, because it asks you to have that word as a starting point or the whole word itself, like this, and it works. If you have hyphen here, let's say, then also it is going to work. If you have another word here after that, then also it will work. But if you add, let's say, something like this here and refresh it, it is not going to work. Even though, let's say, I add this dash, then also it will not work. So hyphen works with the character, which should be the starting point or the whole world itself. Then else only the hyphen works, means the pipe will work in that cases, like this. Or if it has anything here, then also it will work like this. Okay, fine. I hope you understood the attribute selected types. Now what we will do, we will combine that. I will show you another example of this, which is not known to all of them, the developers I'm talking about. Let's say I want to say anchor tag which is having .com as an ending and Google as starting, or in between, let's say. So I will add two anchor tags here. Let me add it here after the images. Okay, and I will add some lines just to move this upwards. Okay, so here we have two anchor tags. Okay, and let's say I will add the selector which says the anchor tag starts with Google and ends, so dollar means ends, right, .com, and start with Google, or in between we want, then we can use star selector. If you want as a starting point, then we can go with the characters, right? So the star is equal to is for in between characters as well. So our anchor tag says that this particular line right here is google.com. So Google keyword is being matched here, and also the .com keyword, and that's why these two attribute selects are written together without any space with a square bracket. So this is the selector which says anchor tag having ending href value as .com, and also has the Google as word in between href value should have red color, and when I apply that and refresh it, the red color is being applied to the Google, right? So this way you can do it. If you don't want to select any of the tag, let's say, and you just want to use the attribute selector like this, then also it is possible. We can add this way, like the target, right? Target we have somewhere. So any element which has target attribute, let's say, it should be of let's say font size 30 pixels. Okay, so do we have any target here? Okay, so this Google and example both having target value, so I will remove one of the target attribute. For example, I have removed it, and now you will see for Google only the text is 30 pixels. So that's how you can apply the attribute selector without any element like this. Anchor tag is not there, right? Still it is getting applied. Okay, so we have covered the target attribute as well. Now we will look at pseudo class and pseudo elements as well. Let's start with the pseudo class first. So the pseudo class is a selector which can be selected with the help of colon. In order to show you that, I will add one anchor tag here. First of all, let me add the separator. I will add anchor tag here. Okay, so here is anchor tag, and let me show you this one. Okay, so here is our anchor tag and the button as well, right? So both the things I have here in my code. Let me refresh. The anchor tag is there and button is also there. Now let's say I want to have a different color when I move my mouse to this anchor tag, right? I will just copy this. I will go here in the CSS, and I will, let's say, add a selector which talks about it, like this anchor tag having the hover pseudo class. So see this, I have applied colon here, right? after anchor tag, and this is what the pseudo class is. For all the pseudo classes, we use a single colon, and all the pseudo elements should be added with the double colon. And anchor tag hover, and let's say the red color. I refresh it, and if I hover my mouse here, the anchor tags are in red color right now. That way you can have this pseudo selector, pseudo class, and for button, let's say active class is there, pseudo class. If I click on it, then the background is getting changed to gray, like that. Let me write green so you can see that clearly. Okay, when I click that and do not release the mouse button, that time the active pseudo class is getting applied. Okay, so this is about pseudo classes. There are other pseudo classes like first child or last child. Let me show you that. So let's say we will talk about first child first. Okay, so it says first child element of the parent. So if we move that, let's say this anchor tag to the very top, just after the body, in that case it is having 10 pixels of. So the thing is, it should be the first child of its parent, and then only this first child selector will get applied. The same way we have last child, like if there is an anchor tag, let's say, which is at the end of the body before body close, and if you apply, let's say, last child instead of first child, I will say last child, and let's write it this way, that it should have 20 pixels of width. And if you move, you see this is of 20 pixel right now in the CSS, right? So this way first child and last child works. There are more pseudo classes like nth child and only child also. So let's say we will cover only child first. So we will delete this HTML from here for now to show you how only child works. So let's say in our body, this is the only child we have as a paragraph, right? Paragraph is the only child, let's say. In that case, let me refresh it. This is the only paragraph, right? And we will have this particular CSS. I will remove this CSS, which we have applied till now, as we have already covered it. Okay, now I will say this paragraph, which is the only child of its parent, should have background color, let's say this one. Okay, let me refresh it. Now that is having the background color, right? And if I have more than one paragraph, and if I remove it or refresh it, you will not see that CSS being applied. And that is because there is no only child, right? Right now there are two childs. The moment you delete one of these paragraphs, it will have this CSS getting applied. That is the use of only child. And nth child is also there. If you, let's say, for example, if you have one unordered list with these 4 elements, you can apply the CSS like this. Let's say nth child to n, and when you refresh it, let me refresh that, what we have as a background color, black. Okay, instead of this white, I will add another color. Let's say this purple color we will apply, right? And when I refresh that, you will be able to see the even numbers getting selected here, right? That is the use of 2n, nth child. Then let's say nth last child, which is third one, or we can select another example. Let's say I have 4 paragraphs here like this, and I want to select one of these paragraphs with the help of nth last child selector. So I will add the selector like this, and if you see, only this paragraph is going to have this underline because I said the nth last child. So from the last, it should be the third paragraph. So this is first, second, and this is the third. That is the use of nth last child, where you can mention the sequence as 3, 2, or whichever you want to select from the last. Okay. Now there is nth of type as well. I will remove this HTML code first to show you how it works. Okay. I copied and pasted it here like this, and I have this CSS here at the right hand side. Okay, so it says paragraphs with nth of type 3n, right? It should be italic. So this particular paragraph is getting selected as nth of type. So it is of paragraph type, and it is at third number, right? If I say 2n, then it is going to have the even sequence, right? So second, then fourth, and all it will select. But if you have 3n, then it will have the gap of 3. Let's understand this way. I have more paragraphs, so every third paragraph like this is italic now. So this is the use of nth of type. Then we have first of type. Let me show you with the example. You have to focus a little bit to understand this. Let's say there is a division with 2 paragraphs, and I will write CSS like this. A division inside that paragraph is there, and for those paragraphs, whichever is the first of type, means paragraph type, will have the blue color, and that's why the only first paragraph is getting applied, right? Okay, now let's say last of type instead of first, right? If I do that, the last paragraph is going to have that. Okay, now first of and last type we have covered. We will cover empty also. Let's say I have a HTML like this, where this division does not have anything in it. So for all the empty elements, we can add this particular CSS, which is this colon empty is a pseudo class. And let's write, let's say red color border we are going to apply to those selectors which are empty. So this particular division is empty, that's why it is having border dashed as red. So like that we can have any property value combination. And let's understand there is one more selector which you can apply directly, which is colon target. Let's say the target is there. Let me write those HTML here. Okay, so you can see there are two anchor, one anchor tag and one paragraph I have written, and the target is there. So I will add target selector. Now see, it does not have any effect, right? But the moment if I add target attribute to it, see, when I clicked on it, the background color is getting applied. Let me do the red color. Okay, now you will understand. See, in the URL, hash section 1 is being targeted. I will remove that. Right now, there is no red color, but the moment I click on this anchor tag, it's section, this one, right? This is going to be in red. See this. I clicked on it, then this particular targeted section is in background color red. That's because of the target pseudo class. It works where the bookmark is there, so it says the hash section 1, which is nothing but this ID. So on click of this anchor tag, this ID is going to get selected or scrolled at, and that's why this target is going to apply the red color background to that particular section only. This works where you are using internal bookmark or external bookmark. Likewise, there are other pseudo selectors as well, pseudo class selectors, like let's say root. So here I will write root, which is HTML, the main tag. Let's say it should have 16 pixel of font size. And if I refresh the code and let's go to the inspect element, you will be able to see 16 pixel written in the CSS here. Here you can see that 16 pixel is getting applied to all the elements since you have applied to the root only, right? Then there is a lang attribute is also there. So let's say you have two paragraphs, and those two paragraphs are having different languages. So you will mention that for your understandings that this paragraph is in French and this paragraph is in English with the help of lang attribute, FRNEN you can see. And let's say for French or this FR language, right? You want to apply font family different. So you can write paragraph colon lang, which is the lang attribute, and you can mention in the brackets that FR value wherever it is, it should have Arial font. So when I refresh that, you can see the French paragraph, right? This is that FR paragraph language is in different font family. Likewise, you can apply lang attribute pseudo class as well. The same way you can use enabled or disabled pseudo classes as well. Let me show you how. So let's say you have two input boxes, one is enabled and one is disabled. So enabled one you can always type something in it, but the disabled one is not typeable. So what we will do, we will target the enabled one first. So let's say the input which is enabled, so pseudo class enabled is here. To that we will say red color. So red color is applied as a background for the enabled one, and we can same way we can use for the disabled one as well. Here I need to add disabled, and you can see a different color. Let me select that. Okay, the green color is applied to disabled one. If you remove that disabled from here, it will not work, right? It is also enabled by default. And if you use this, like if you remove enabled from both of these, then also it is going to work, because by default it is enabled, right? If you don't want, you can delete that. Okay, so enabled and disabled I have showed. Now checked is also there as a pseudo class. Let's say you have one input box as a radio box and checkbox. In that case, this is a radio box, this is checkbox, and you can say the inputs which are having checked as its property or attribute. Input with checked attribute, right? It should have a border as blue. You can see the border blue is getting applied to checked elements only. Let's say I don't want to check this, so I remove that checked attribute, and if I refresh, that border is not there anymore. In CSS3, they have mentioned one more selector which is known as not selector. Let me show you how you can use that. So let's say you have HTML like this. Okay, so there are 4 paragraphs. One paragraph is having just a second. Okay, so here we have 4 paragraphs. One paragraph having highlight as its class, and we are going to write CSS there itself. Let's say the CSS which we are going to add is, let's say, the paragraph without highlight, right? So select all the paragraphs but not highlight paragraph, which is the highlight class, right? So this way you can write the CSS, select all the paragraphs but do not select the paragraph with the highlight class, and that's how you can write the not selector. So it will select all the paragraphs. You can see the output. It will select all the paragraphs but not with the this particular highlight. So I will change the color to show you how it works. Okay, I will change it to red. Let me zoom it. Okay, now you can see it has selected 3 paragraphs but not the highlighted paragraph, means highlight class paragraph. With the help of not selector you can do that. The next thing which we have is the default pseudo class, which is nothing but, let's say we have a code like this, select tag with 3 options, and one of these options is already selected with the help of selected attribute, right? You can see the output here. The option 3 is already selected even if I refresh the code, and that's because of this selected attribute. And let's say we want to apply a CSS to the default selected attribute. Let's say it should be bold. In that case, we can write this particular CSS font weight bold, and if I refresh it now, you will be able to see only third option is in bold, right? And that's the use of default pseudo class. Okay, now we will look at pseudo elements. Pseudo elements are the selectors which can be denoted by double colons in CSS. Let's say for an example, we have this paragraph, and in that paragraph something is written, right? So I want to let's say change the color of first line, or first line should be in bold and other lines should not be in bold. So let me add more content in it so we can see the effect. Okay, now let me refresh the page and see only the first line is in bold and other lines are not in bold. Likewise, you can also say the only first line should be in red and other should not be, like that, with the help of first line. There is one more selector, like pseudo selector, I would say, which is first letter. And for the first letter, let's say the font size should be 30 pixels. And if I refresh that, the first letter L is 30 pixel, which is big, right? So these two pseudo selectors, pseudo element selectors you can use for doing something like that. There is one more which is before, after, and selection is also there. So let's say for an example, I want to show something, okay, to the paragraph, before the paragraph. So I will add before pseudo element with the double colon, and I will say content start. So start colon etc. I have written, right? If I refresh it, you will be able to see start colon and that space before the paragraph. So this particular selector, pseudo element selector, is used to add something before the element. If you say, let's say after instead of this before, and let's say end, it will add that at the end, like this. You can see that here at the end of this paragraph. Okay, so these are before and after pseudo elements. Now we also have selection. Let me show you that. So when you write that selection element, you don't need to add it with the element selector. You can just add it like this, selection, and whatever you are going to select with the help of your mouse cursor as a text, it is going to have, let's say, background color blue and text color white. Let me show you the output. I am selecting it and the background color blue and text is white. You will say that that is default, right? I will change it to something like a red color, and let's say color should be yellow. Okay, now see, whatever I'm selecting is having background color red and the color is yellow. Likewise, you can have the selection also formatted like that way. Okay, then we have group selector. So group selector is the selector which you can select with the help of the comma separator, right? Let me show you how. Let's say I want to select more than one element or more than one classes or IDs or whatever we have. Let me show you with the help of example. Okay, so in our HTML here, we are trying to add, let's say, h1, let's say Sagar, h2, let's say More, which is my first and last name. I will add, let's say, a paragraph which is saying SagarMore.in, which is my website and YouTube channel name as well. And we can have another div here which says class name is ABC. I will add let's say www.SagarMore.in. We have 4 elements here in the body. Let me refresh. You can see that 4 elements are there. We will remove all this CSS first. Let me show you the group selector which you can apply. So what you can do is you can say the h1 and h2 separated by comma, you have to write, should have color green, and both are having color green, right? You can again say that I want that ABC class, right? Don't forget the dot here. That ABC class should be having green color again. So it is also having green color right now, right? You can again say that paragraph should also have the green color. And that way you can select multiple selectors with the help of group selector. Okay, I think we have covered all the selectors. Let me know in the comment if we have forgotten any of the selectors, and spread the knowledge. I hope you like the video, and thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, happy coding and see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice time.